Very warm greetings to you as you join us on today's episode of Tax Matters. My name is Olumuyiwa Matuluko, and with me on today's episode is Christina Pius.
Hello viewers.
The month of December is very close, only a few days away, depending on where and when you are watching this episode of Tax Matters. And that means that very soon, rice and soup will be very plenty. RSVP. You know what we're talking about? The chicken, the rice, the drinks at Christmas. And of course, a week after Christmas, the New Year. It is our prayer that all of us will be counted among those who will witness the year 2013. And talking about being counted, the Taxpayer Identification Number scheme has just kicked off in Nigeria. It is a project of the Joint Tax Board. And of course, you know that the Joint Tax Board comprises the Federal Revenue Service and all the 36 states boards of internal revenue. What that means is that the TIN project is a national project. It is not a federal project. Read my lips. The TIN project is a national project.
Yes, and to underscore this fact and to ensure that everyone is carried along, the Joint Tax Board embarked on a nationwide sensitization program, which kicked off in Enugu on Wednesday, October 31st, and ended in Ibadan on Thursday, November 15th.
On the sidelines of the last workshop, the one that was held in Ibadan, we pulled aside two major drivers of the TIN project, the Executive Secretary of the Joint Tax Board, Malam Abubakar, and Mr. Oduba, the project manager. That recording, which you're about to watch, was done in the hall, in a big hall, the venue of the event. But before we go into that, before we bring you that interview, this background report.
The Joint Tax Board is empowered by Section 86, subsection 9 of the Personal Income Tax Act and Section 8Q of the FIRS Establishment Act 2007 to oversee the issuance and administration of taxpayers' identification number on all taxable entities. In this regard, the Joint Tax Board, which comprises the Federal Inland Revenue Service and State Boards of Internal Revenue, initiated the process of putting together an electronic system of taxpayers' registration, which would uniquely and distinctly identify all taxpayers nationwide. The objectives of the TIN program include to have reliable and centralized data of information of all taxpayers in the country, which would allow the sharing of information among all tax authorities, to create a national platform for the registration and the allocation of tax identification number to all taxpayers, to aid effective tax administration processes, to automate tax registration activities for all levels of government, and therefore facilitate a sustainable platform for revenue generation. The goals of the TIN program are, among others, to enhance a harmonized electronic taxpayers database that would eliminate multiple tax registration, increase tax compliance, and create a competitive and conducive environment for investors. Information from the TIN database would also be useful as a veritable basis to determine proper revenue allocation and the siting of government projects, as well as for national planning, budgeting, and resource allocation. In addition to the State Boards of Internal Revenue and the FIRS, other key stakeholders include the Federal Ministry of Finance, Federal Road Safety Commission, National Bureau of Statistics, Association of Local Governments of Nigeria, the Central Bank of Nigeria, the National Assembly, and the National Council of States. The TIN project was conceived and work began in April 2009. In April 2012, 3 years after, the TIN project effectively took off with the registration of Mr. President, Dr. Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, his Deputy Vice President Namadi Sambo, followed by state governors, ministers, and chairmen of state boards of internal revenue. TIN is a national scheme involving all persons of taxable age as well as corporate bodies.
With me in the studio is Malam Abubakar, Executive Secretary of the JTB.
Thank you.
And Mr. Oduba is the project manager of the Taxpayer Identification Number scheme. Gentlemen, you are welcome to Tax Matters.
Thank you.
Let's start with you, Malam Abubakar. In the last 3 weeks, the Joint Tax Board has been going around the 6 geopolitical zones on what we call sensitization workshop for the Taxpayer Identification Number scheme. Why did you consider this necessary?
Yeah, thank you very much. The essence of the sensitization workshop is to create awareness among the public on the taxpayer identification number. The essence of having the taxpayer application number project is to create a platform where all categories of taxpayer will be electronically registered, and it is very important that the general public who are the taxpayers are quite aware of what it entails to have this number, and that's why we've been, in the last 3 weeks, we've been going around the 6 geopolitical zones of the country to create this awareness.
Mr. Oduba, you are the project manager. In answering that question that we put to him, he said something about electronic registration. What do you have to tell us about what this project is all about, the Taxpayer Identification Number scheme?
Well, thank you very much. What the Joint Task Force has set out to do by its own mandate of creating a uniform platform for tax administration in the country had decided that they should create a credible electronic database of all taxpayers in the country, so that every taxpayer in the country, whether a corporate body, whether an enterprise, whether an individual, is uniquely identified by having a unique tax identification number issued to that taxpayer.
Okay. Now, our program Tax Matters is sponsored by the Federal Inland Revenue Service, and we know for a fact that the Federal Inland Revenue Service has a TIN scheme in place, just as we also know that some other states like Lagos, like Delta, like Cross River have this kind of scheme. This new one, how do you marry it with the existing ones?
Okay. In our design for the system, we do realize that many states have gone ahead to issue various forms of identification to their taxpayers. What we've done is to design the system in such a manner that whatever identification that you have had before now as a taxpayer will be captured into the new system, and that will be referred to as old taxpayer identification number. What we are issuing now will now be like new taxpayer identification number. You can equate that to the recent thing CBN did on new bank, their old account number and then the new bank. The two numbers will be used together up to a point where the old TIN will be completely phased out.
Okay, so there is no fear that what is on ground is a waste?
No.
Okay, and you are going to seamlessly integrate them.
Yes.
Who and who are covered by TIN? Individuals or corporate bodies or both?
Any taxable entity, which are either individuals, enterprises, or companies.
Mm-hmm.
Even the enterprises, whether registered or not registered, as long as that entity generates income.
Okay. What exactly is the objective of TIN?
You know, first, for taxation, you start with, people will say you start from assessment. But how do you assess if you do not know the taxpayer? So that's why it's very important to have this exercise conducted where you have a database upon which you base your assessment, and those are the taxpayers, both individual and corporate. So it is from this that you will be able to even make your projection. Government will ask tax authorities to come up with targets, or government will set targets for tax authorities. So if it is, on what basis will you set such targets if you do not know how many taxpayers you even have, individual and corporate?
You are Executive Secretary of Joint Task Force, and I'm sure you have heard what I want to say now.
Yeah.
Fears have been expressed that this project is aimed, that the federal government is trying to take over everything by centralizing tax administration. Is that the correct position?
No, it is far from it, because we have the Constitution, and these things are already in the Constitution, and then we have other relevant tax laws, in particular the Personal Income Tax Act, that stipulates who to collect what kind of who to collect the personal income tax. For example, we also have the Act, what we call Act 21, Taxes and Levy Approved List of Collection Act of 1998. The Act specifically stipulates various types of taxes collectible by the 3 tiers of government, and nobody can wake up overnight and change those things. Nothing can be done without following the due process. And it's not, I don't think anybody who can convince me as at now that states that we want to centralize collection of personal income tax.
That is not the objective.
No,
there is no aim at centralizing everything. Okay, Mr. Oduba, definitely TIN will not stand alone, as it were. So what will this TIN be linked?
Yes, like you rightly know, part of the process of implementation is for us to involve some critical stakeholders that we believe will interface with TIN. Such stakeholders include central bank, because we do know there will be need for customers who operate bank accounts to provide their TIN to manage their accounts in the banks. We are also collaborating with road safety for the purposes of obtaining a driver's license or renewing or obtaining vehicle licenses. We are also collaborating with immigration for the purposes of international passport. It will also interest you that we are even collaborating with Population Commission and the National Identity Management Commission as well.
We're going to talk about that.
So that all these bodies will now be involved in ensuring that most of the social services that the country will offer can ride on this platform. We do believe that in the nearest future, the data we source can even be of importance to NIMSI, the national identity, because they are planning also to capture 10 fingerprints. If we have gone far ahead before them, it's possible for them to share our information. We also in the future might also not be registering everybody from the start if that data already exists with NIMSI. Those are the kind of collaborations that we are looking at.
Okay.
And we are also encouraging states who can now tie some social services to the TIN, which means TIN now becomes something in a class like what you could have in the US as social security. So a lot of things can now be tied to the TIN. And so you can now look at the totality of a person.
Okay. We'll go for a short break. When we come back, we'll look at timelines. When is this project taking off? Is there any cutover date and things like that? Don't go away.
Now, sorry, madam. I no say for my name.
I don't check in no day. After all my wahala, these people still no register me.
Haba, I put on 14.
Tingini. Wetin concern tin tomato for inside this matter wey we dey talk now?
Eva, explain for am 14.
Madam, Taxpayers Identification Number, TIN, a special number for all correct taxpayers. It is compulsory if you want to register and do business with government.
Without TIN, you no go fit do business.
Abeg, na how much I go pay to collect this thing?
Madam, I get am 14 free.
Madam, take your certificate of incorporation to FIRS office, fill the form, and you go get am one time.
Just like that? Abeg, make I go collect my own
Yowa.
TIN na free o, na for everybody. Na your correct identity. FIRS, it pays to pay your tax.
Welcome back. We are discussing Taxpayer Identification Number, TIN. And two guests are in the house, two gentlemen. Malam Abubakar, the Executive Secretary of the Joint Task Board, and Mr. Oduba, the Project Manager of the TIN project. Mr. Oduba,
Yes.
let's talk about timelines. When is this taking off, or has it taken off? And is there any cut-off date?
Well, the project has taken off. Deployment have already started. Early this year, precisely April 5, the Commander-in-Chief, President Goodluck Jonathan himself, officially launched this project.
Okay.
He was registered in the villa, in the council chambers, alongside his vice. Some other governors were also registered also that same day as well. Thereafter, the project has been deployed to what we call pilot offices. We chose one state for each regional area. For South-South, we chose Delta. For Southwest, Oyo State. For North Central, Kwara State. For Northeast, Bauchi State. For Northwest, we chose Jigawa. For Southeast, Abia State. And all these states have commenced the registration process. And they're already registering taxpayers and issuing cards to them. Now we have run the pilot for a while now, and we felt comfortable with the pilot. So we have now moved to deploying in other states. As we speak now, Plateau State, for example, is also registering. Ogun State is also registering. Ekiti State has commenced the process as well. Now, other states like Osun, Ondo, Kebbi, Rivers, Akwa Ibom are at various stages of commencing registration. Infrastructure have been deployed to those states, installations have been done, training have been done, and we are just now to commence issuing the numbers and the cards in those places as well. So in essence, the project has commenced. We are already issuing cards. We have issued cards to close to 10,000 now. And so we are moving on.
Is there any deadline? Like if you are registering for to become a voter, it's like so date to so date. Is there a time when if I have not done so, then I'm in breach of the law? That is as a taxpayer. Is there any cut-off date?
There is no cut-off date in taxpayers registration. Because we are not, it's not like it's time-bound. You are going to have need for you to register. If, for example, by law now, for you to have your tax clearance certificate, you require a tax identification number. So if you are going to process your tax clearance certificate, of necessity, you have a tax number, so you have to go and register. And to the extent that it's not all of us who process our TCC at the same time, it can be time-bound. So it's flexible. You register as the need comes.
If I don't do it and need arises for it, well, then I have to go and do it.
You have to.
Is it a number for life or is changeable?
It's a number for life to the extent that the system will still be functional.
It will not expire. Madam Abubakar, let's go back. Let's rewind. In talking about linkages, he spoke about the national ID card. He spoke about immigration and the rest of them. Why don't we simply use the national ID card of NIMSI instead of this TIN?
I think even in today's newspaper, I read a response by an official of NIMSI where they have complained that the exercise, the national ID card exercise that was conducted some years back actually is has some issues, and that's why they are embarking on a fresh exercise. And they have also said that those numbers may, as we speak now, may not be even valid. So it's like they are doing it all over. So whatever hitches they've come across are those that we want to avoid, or those that we have avoided right from the design of this system, such that because what was discovered, like INEC, it was discovered that, and it came out also in the report, that it was possible for people to register for more than one once. So with this team project, it's not possible.
And Mr. Oduba, why is it not possible?
Because we have centralized our automated fingerprint system. You know, during the INEC registration, they had pockets of PCs where they were registering in wards or whatever. So you go to that PC to register. If you have registered once, it tells you have registered. They were not cross-checking against any central place. So it was possible to have duplicates. But for us, even the very first time you are going to register, that authorization must be given from our central AFIS. So once you have your data there already, the system will return a duplicate request, and it will not allow that registration to go through.
So in this one, nobody can have two things, two TINs. No, it's not possible.
Nobody can have two TINs to the extent that you cannot have two different fingerprints.
Okay, that's for individuals. What about corporate bodies? Whose fingerprints are you going to take?
We are not taking fingerprints of corporate bodies. What makes you a corporate body? You are a corporate body for the simple reason that CAC has issued a certificate of incorporation to you.
Okay.
That has a unique number. So as long as that your unique number is quoted, that is what makes you a corporate body. And so if we have to register you, once we have confirmed that that number already exists in our database, we cannot duplicate that number again. So even for corporate bodies, you can register more than once.
Is the CAC register such an impregnable one? You don't have duplications?
Well, to the extent that CAC's project was also a recent thing. What they have done was to clean their data. Previously, they had manual registration.
Yeah.
So they had set up a project to clean their corporate data. And so that we are taking on. For the enterprises, that they have not finished. And we are not taking the enterprises day one. But for the corporate, the companies,
limited liability companies and
PLCs will take them on.
Okay.
Because they have cleaned their own data. So we can take those ones on.
But as for individuals, because of the biometrics, because of the fingerprints, you are sure that there will be no problem. I asked you earlier whether the TIN number will be a number for life or will it expire. And where I was actually going was like, if my circumstance changes, if I work for a bank now, and then 2 months from now I become a commissioner in my state, for that period I stop being a banker, or a lady marries and her name changes from Mrs. Omotola to Mrs. Jamiu, or whatever, a governor becomes president, or Mr. Oduba becomes governor of his state, what will happen to the TIN number that I've acquired?
The TIN number is not dependent on the features that you have just mentioned. The TIN number is not a factor of where you work. It's not a factor of your name. It's not a factor of even the state authority. It's just a number which is centrally assigned to you uniquely as a taxpayer.
Okay.
And so, irrespective of changes around you, the number does not change. No. When you change even your state of residence, the number does not change. It's your state that will change. The only thing that will not change in the entire process is the number. You can change your name, like you rightly said. If a woman marries, she changes her name, the right process of change will be followed, and those changes are reflected on the system, but it does not change the number itself.
Okay, so if Malam Abubakar becomes governor of Niger State, when we say employment, we just put governor, the number does not change. Well, viewers, we are afraid that we cannot bring you the full contents of that interview, even as we still have vital issues to trash out. The concluding part will come to you in the next episode of the program. Christina, what's happening in the world of taxation?
Oh, quite a lot is happening. On Thursday, 22nd of November 2012, the CITN held its 27th induction ceremony for newly admitted members of the Institute. At a well-attended ceremony, graced by the President of the Institute, Mr. J.F.S. Jegede, as well as former President of the Institute, 546 members were inducted, including a former commissioner in Imo State and a deputy controller of customs. 2 days after, on Saturday, the 24th of November, the CITN held its annual dinner and awards night. Awardees include some individuals and corporate organizations, including Governor Adams Oshomole of Edo State, Executive Chairman of the Lagos State Internal Revenue Service, and the immediate past president of the CITN. 219 members of the Institute were also installed as fellows of the Institute. The following week for 2 days, Thursday 22nd and Friday 23rd, 3 groups of the Federal Inland Revenue Service held their 2013 Group Strategic Retreat aimed at strategizing for optimum tax collection in the year 2013.
Talking about getting ready for the year 2013. And of course, it means that more money will come into the coffers of government, and by extension, more funds available for provision of projects and infrastructure. For information and education and taxation, this is a program to watch. I want to thank you most sincerely for watching, and we ask you to join us again Next week, hopefully, we'll be in the month of December. From Christina.
Thank you for watching and bye for now.
And for me, be good.